Welcome back. Oh, hey, Chloe. By the way, Shira, listen to this. Chloe has something to say that I think you'll find interesting.
Are you familiar with Schrodinger's cat?
Oh, yeah.
Until you decide what happens, everything is happening at once. Like in Detroit.
Thanks, Chloe. But at the same time, here's the thing. The concept in itself is completely right, but the way David decided to phrase it, it's so pretentious, he said like that. I implore you people, the concept itself is still fine. Watch other medias like, say, Helsing, that deal with that marginally
Alright,
better.
let's read more backstory that should have been in the actual game.
Do we have to?
Yes.
Oh, goody. What more can we learn about Todd now that he's dead?
Let's see. Todd is a former taxi driver who lost his job when self-driving cars became popular in 2021. He then became a laborer, then a bouncer and security guard, only for androids to replace human labor in each of these fields too. For several years he has been working odd jobs here and there, including dealing red eyes, a powerful methamphetamine, as part of a small drug or trade around the neighborhood and pray for his addiction. There you go, Joe, but there's your explanation about the red eyes.
And now he gets money.
And
also they get a better explanation about why he hates androids. He's constantly getting replaced by them.
That still doesn't tell us anything about the drug itself, though. Arrested several times for drug trafficking and also for violent behaviors. Todd believes in a model. Whatever, you get the gist of it.
So I only have this to ask: why are they only telling us this now? Why didn't his bio say that originally?
Actually, his bio always said that, didn't it? I don't think.
Also, we have alternate versions of the characters.
Java, this is my first time. This is my first time in this playthrough reading Todd's bio, so I have no idea what you're talking about.
No, I'm pretty sure that you read his bio beforehand.
I did not. HK400 is one of the first androids designed to be household assistants. The particular model was bought secondhand by Carlos Ortiz in 2046. How nice. Moving on. Who else? Leo Manfred. Leo is the only son of famous painter Karl Manfred, born of a short but passionate fling with a young groupie. Leo was initially raised by his mother, who got a large pension to take care of him. Manfred recognized his paternity at birth, but it was only when Leo was 16 that they saw each other again. The old man, lost in doubt, confronted his demons through facing the angry young man, but their embryonic relationship quickly changed when Manfred realized that his son was hooked on red eyes. Tension grew, leaving Manfred profoundly angry and disappointed at Leo's every visit, forcing him to realize that he couldn't be the father he wanted to be.
Why didn't the story tell us that? That explains so much.
Because, Jova, telling instead of showing is so wonderful. I mean, don't you see? It really connects emotionally with the audience. When you just...
for all David Cage's fault, I didn't think we'd have to be telling him to show, not tell things out. There's one thing he loves to do is try to show stuff, but this feels like he threw caution to the wind. And yet, ironically, this is still the best David Cage game. The one where we actually have to tell him show, don't tell is the best David Cage game. What is up with that?
Well, it's a paradox, Jova. Like, it's the best one in terms of...
Would you say it's a Schrodinger's game?
Yeah.
And even when you get down to it, even though this is technically his best game, it still has a lot of stupid stuff. And quite honestly, the only really purely... No, not even purely good, but the only real, what I'd call good or decent section is Connor's stuff. Everything else is just ham-fisted or sucks.
Yeah, basically.
But ham-fisted means it sucks.
Well, a ham-fisted stands out particularly because the messages are ham-fisted.
Like water is good for you or something.
Yeah, pretty much.
Unless you're allergic to water.
Or you played Pepsi Man, because apparently in that universe, water is the devil.
Well, yeah.
Okay,
How does Pepsi Man go for on eBay? I'll check it out.
For a story that's all about racism or revolution and all that, it feels just more like a random segment of people being dicks to robots just because, as opposed to it actually feeling like something that calls for a full-on revolution. Because, again, it feels like the people who have been dicks to the robots have been more the exception than the rule. Don't get me wrong, some people have given offhand glances, but cops actually seem to be doing their job properly whenever people gang up on a robot.
It's not just the fact that humans mistreat robots, Jova. Robots the androids want to be free. They want to have their own homes. They want to have their own right to property, all that good stuff. They don't just want to not get beaten up. They want to be recognized as genuine members of human society.
That's
Tia,
all
there is
well and good. The issue...
Yeah, you can tell me that later. Anyway, yeah, we're back with Kara, and surprisingly enough, the bus driver is not a dick. He just asked him to get out because it's the end of the line, and he's not an asshole about it. So
Yeah,
how's that for a change?
I mean, so androids want to be regarded as humans or whatnot. I would not have been able to get that, and maybe I'm not supposed to get that up until this point.
No, the revolution part is later, Jova.
Don't worry, Jova. The game will tell you plenty about the revolution.
In that case, Pedro, I think this game may have a bit of a...
Do you know if there's any other place we could spend the night?
No, don't worry. Don't worry. This is not important. Go on.
Yeah. This game feels like it has a pacing issue. Again, okay. Going off of the advertising, let me put it this right. They advertised the revolution so much, yet we haven't even really seen a hint of the Android revolution up to this point. Like, at this point, honestly, it feels like if there's going to be an Android revolution, I got to know what exactly is the inspiration for it at this point. Oh, from now, what have we seen so far? Oh, Kara's a good mother to this girl who's been abused. Connor is the best android in this game story. And Markus is... I guess Markus is Jesus or Martin Luther King or whatever.
No, Jova, question. Are you familiar with the Holocaust?
Yes.
That's basically Marcus's story.
The Holocaust? I thought they were doing this based off of the Civil Rights Revolution.
Well, it's a combination of both. It's a combination of both.
David is mixing up
Basically, Jova, the revolution part, that's Martin Luther King. However, there's also going to be android destruction camps that are going to be used as a metaphor for the Holocaust. Nazi camps.
Well, okay. In that case, you've lost me because...
Speaking of being lost, Jova, oh no, it's not right now. But basically, I think I don't know if Pedro does it, but there is a section in this game, in this particular part, that feels a bit weird and doesn't get brought up again.
Oh well, gee. Well, Kara, you're an interesting.
Well, remember, Teo, this is a blind. Well, remember, this is a blind playthrough.
And what I say, but I said, but I don't know if you trigger it or not.
I don't even remember. It's been so long.
I love how Kara asked an android if there's a place to stay when, dude, you've been an android your life. Shouldn't you know how this works? That, they can't really comply.
Won't be open before morning, so sorry. The Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria is not available.
Also, Pedro, I'm sorry, but asking somebody if they're familiar with the Holocaust is kind of a mute question. I mean,
it was more so a question for the sake of moving the conversation forward, Shiroi. I didn't.
Well, Shiroi, let's not forget we're playing a game made by a man who clearly does not know Detroit. Because, I've already noticed quite a few...
Come to think of it, actually, John, that's also actually a good point.
Yeah, that's the thing. He said he visited Detroit for this game, yet I'm not really seeing it.
That's also another thing. Why specifically Detroit? Because there's a high crime rate? That doesn't fit at all, honestly. Why couldn't he just make about Paris instead?
Why does it have to be Detroit, Pedro?
I don't... Jova, you're asking me to understand the way David Cage thinks. You realize the implications of that, right?
This guy, David Cage, did an entire game once just because he was infatuated morbidly with Ellen Page.
Yeah.
So are you telling me that this all happened in Detroit, just one city? Why not showcase it on a bigger scale, around the world? Again, I mean, why just this one city? The game doesn't take place just in Detroit. Most of it does take place in Detroit.
So, steal or do not.
Really?
But there are chapters that take place outside of Detroit, to be fair.
Yeah.
And why did they even bother calling it Detroit Become Human? And why did he make such a big deal of Detroit?
Most of the actions is in Detroit.
Honestly, Jova, my guess is the original name was just Become Human. However, someone in the marketing thought that the title didn't have enough of a punch, so let's
Sony.
So let's just add in an extra word.
Ooh, Alice didn't like that.
Anyway, to bring this to more present times, the basic gist of it is that...
Yes, by all means, give us quick time events for every little tiny bit where she steals from a guy.
Well, Jova, you should already be used to this by now when it comes to these games.
Loser.
Anyway, yeah. Basically, we need to try our best to find a place to sleep. However, so we entered here, And now we're going to steal this guy's clothes, despite Alice telling us specifically, "No, Kara, that's stealing. I'm sorry, Alice."
Stealing from a black guy? That's racist.
It's where was I going?
Androids are just as bad as the humans.
What are you talking about, Shiva?
Yeah,
The androids are
actually,
pure
no,
and
actually-
innocent.
Yeah, Joe.
Oh, let me just finish,
It's oh, sorry, my bad.
Anyway,
Go on.
yeah, the basic gist of it is that
That's a good
Alice.
point.
The basic gist of it is that Alice doesn't want us to steal because that's not nice. However, Kara put it very well, and I kind of agree with her in the sense that I'm sorry, we don't have a choice, Alice. You need some new clothes, and I need to get out of this uniform because otherwise they'll be recognized. So
It's funny how she looks like Ellen Page in that outfit.
When she was a bomb.
yeah. Go ahead, Jova.
And you know what's funny?
Oh,
how
hold on,
she
Jova.
doesn't-
It's time to face the music. Live concerts are making a comeback. Look at that, Jova. Look at that, Jova. Turns out concerts stopped being a thing for a few years,
But
apparently.
what about the bees?
So, Jova,
disaster, pollinating bees, blah blah blah.
So, Jova,
Just die in these.
So, Jova, considering
universes.
you work in concerts often, what's your take on that?
I wish I knew more about why that was the case and why
Because
it's
Jova,
important.
the technology is replacing your jobs
Well,
and everything.
okay. To be fair, maybe because see, here's the thing, Jova. When it comes to the magazines, I just briefly skim them. I don't actually read them in detail. Maybe if you stop and read those 2 pages in detail, they do explain it. But just I cannot, for the life of me, care. So I just moved on.
Very
I
uncomfortable. on the
mean, I
screen.
guess my thing to say about that is if there's an interesting story behind it,
Open
fine.
here as well.
But I mean, otherwise, I just had to think, how random.
Shop is
Again,
closed.
you know what's weird? For a futuristic setting, David Cage doesn't exactly tell us much about the future other than, robots came in and have been taking
Not
up people's
discreet, we
jobs.
need money.
Yeah. Basically, Jova, there's multiple ways we can about picking a place to sleep. And each one has its own advantages and disadvantages. For example, the hotel is discreet and safe. However, it costs money. There's there's an abandoned house that is discreet but possibly not safe. And there's a
garage where it's very very comfortable but discreet.
yeah.
Let me guess. The story divergence points in here are actually very different for once.
No. This chapter,
yeah.
the diversions are really good. You still they're not complete. These are not the kind of churches that will literally completely change the entire course of the story or anything like that. But they do. But each of the 3 different pathways are distinctly different in terms of what you do.
Especially because Jova trying to put some foreshadowing here. It's time. Well,
A better place to live, huh?
Starting with, I think, the next part most likely, our free storyline will start to converge a bit.
Yep.
But why? Well,
It's kind of like
when
an
you
heavy
think about
rain.
it, I would argue it's a bit better, even though we only get one major scenes where the 3 characters are in the same place and we don't even talk to each other, all 3 at once. But still, think about it, Jova. Kara has committed a crime, and she's an android going deviant. What does that mean?
Well, it's like I predicted earlier. Connor's probably going to have to eventually go under her cage.
Exactly. So what do you think? Would you make things easier for Connor and have
Yeah.
Kara being in dangerous situations, or would you try make things easier for her instead?
Basically, you get to choose Jova. If you want to, you're gonna have to play as there's gonna be a chapter after this where you play as both Kara and Connor, and you get to choose if you want to play, to get Kara to run
here
away.
it is. There's this one. Okay.
Here it is.
This guy is a deviant, shows up out of nowhere, gives an actual, help, and then he never shows up again. It's pretty much implied that he's part of a resistance, but you don't really see him in that place.
No,
Need a place for tonight.
he's just here for the
And
sake
there you
of.
go. And he's Batman, apparently.
He's just here to give Kara an information of one particular place that can help them. But that's it. David Cage, it's like David Cage could not come up with a logical reason in the screenplay for why Kara would be directed to Zlatko's house. Little for foreshadowing there.
So does that happen, regardless of which hideout you choose?
It always happens. Yes, it's required.
Okay.
It's required for the story to move on because Kara and Alice don't know where to go, but now they do.
If I recall correctly, Shiri picked the car in
Yes,
Yeah.
the car from my various attempts at doing this chapter 2, the car is just a better choice all around. It's easier, it's quicker, whereas going for the abandoned house, in my opinion, is just boring and just overall longer and takes so long to do stuff.
But where's your sense of adventure, Pedro?
From there,
with this game.
Okay, so basically you can choose to either... Okay, so we're asking for money just to help, but she's like, yeah, I cannot just give money to any bum that shows up, and that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
We have an option. We can steal from the cash register, or we can just try find a different way. I'm not going to steal because I already pissed off Alice with the clothes, so I'm going to see if I can find a different way.
Let me guess. You piss off Alice too much, she'll eventually betray you.
No, but it will be... Well, remember, Jova, that's the thing. If you don't please Alice enough, eventually she'll not care much for you, and you'll not be a happy mommy and shit like that. So.
How awfully spoiled of her. Like, hello, girl. Yeah, I mean,
I'll get back to that later, Pedro.
So we didn't steal money, but also this place doesn't have one of those metal detectors at the end that picks up if you stole stuff.
A lot of
What
small
future?
off-licenses don't have that.
I mean, this
That's
looks
right,
like,
this is the future.
for putting
Shouldn't
UK
everyone have that?
terms, this kind of looks like a Tesco. Even they have those.
I will give it this.
Well, Tesco's a big chain.
I will give it this. The overall visuals are incredibly impressive. This is clearly a great showcase for what the PS4 can do graphically.
Yeah.
Something you told me about Alice. I mean, okay, I get that in this story segment she's not the one who killed her father, but if she was the one to kill her father...
It's the equivalent in the making you understand what your emotional impact on Alice is. It's the equivalent in the Telltale games when a character will remember that. You don't really have a guarantee that will bite you in the ass, just a possibility.
I mean, I get that.
Okay, now I remember. If I remember correctly, what happens is I'm going to try to get into the house because I thought the house probably would be safer. But then I'm going to meet a nut job who I'm just scared of, so I decide to go back and try something different. That's what happens.
Is this the first LP of this game?
It's the thing you remember. What you're seeing here is my first time playing, so I didn't really know what I was doing at the time.
You know, again, guys, it's nice that there's all these choices here, and I appreciate that. There's just one problem.
Jova, that's what I've been saying since Heavy Rain. You're a bit late to the party there.
Well, I know that, but I mean, here though, I mean, at least with Heavy Rain, that was like his first time doing a Divergent story. This shows that he clearly hasn't learned, and in some ways, he's gotten even worse.
It's again, this is the kind of thing that I was always talking about ever since 2010. Like, I don't really care how many choices the game has if the writing is crap in all of them. Like it's kind of the same problem I have with again, like if you haven't created a good enough script to get me invested into this, like why should I care what different routes the script can go if it just sucks? You can take a piece of turd and mold it into a different form. It's still a piece of turd.
Like, let me put it like this. Alice being all self-righteous about us doing all this and that. Girl, we've just escaped after saving you from your murderous father in a world where the android will probably get blamed for it.
Can I make a prediction?
Go ahead.
Let me guess. Her father wasn't really her biological whatever.
I'll get back to you on that, Dwebs.
Wouldn't it be funny if it turns out that...
Where did Alice went?
What if
she's
Oh shit!
Oh, there's an android. Wait. Hold on. He looks just like the same android who helped us beforehand.
Well, remember, Jova, their
models have similar features.
True. I guess it makes sense.
Just like there's multiple Arnolds in the Terminator series because they're produced in factories.
I never even came across this guy.
That's because Shiro, you went straight for the car thanks to my help because I saved you from this boring option.
So what are you gonna do?
So can you actually still try and stay in the house with this guy?
You can.
Oh yes, you can.
You can. Surprisingly, Jova, see, the problem is he's not a bad person. It's just that he's incredibly crazy.
Cuckoo.
There you go.
He looks
Yeah.
like he's had his face scarred on one side.
Basically, he was. Basically, Ralph here was beaten up by humans. Yeah. So basically,
Well, surprise.
so because humans are evil, of course, and he hid himself.
PTSD.
He hid himself in this house to protect himself.
You know, I just like to imagine a human showing hundreds of dollars on a robot just to beat him up. Money well spent.
I know, right? Like it's just.
Again, like seriously.
Again, David is operating on the same pretense of the Purge movies, but humans are such incredibly repressing anger all the
Jova.
time, and they want to kill each other because reasons.
But don't you see, Monsieur Jova? It's just like back in the times of slavery, where rich people would buy slaves and then beat the crap out of them. You see, this is a historical metaphor that I have here.
Okay, first of all, that was back in the past, old man. Secondly, slaves bought slaves for, labor, not just to whip and beat them up. I mean, sure, they did whip and beat them up, but they bought them for...
Like, if a person
Well, to be
wanted
fair, to be
abused-
fair, they also used the androids for labor here.
If
Well,
a person,
you know what I mean,
if
though.
a
It's like, well,
person
there's some
wanted
people
to
who
be
literally will-
abusive, it would have been even on family members and everything. You didn't need to buy a person for it.
Yeah, I mean, again, let's put this into perspective, Pedro. Here, apparently people will shell out hundreds of dollars for a robot that's supposed to just be there, but then they'll beat them up to the point where that robot will fight back and kill them. And yeah, sometimes that happened with slaves too.
I would understand more if it was for sex slavery, because for as fucked up that it sounds, that will actually...
Later,
Yeah,
Teo,
yeah,
later.
I know.
You know the opening sequence of this game.
Yes.
Yeah.
According to an AMA David Cage did on Reddit, he actually composed the music for that bit.
Oh, joy,
Oh.
he's living out his old dreams of being a composer.
Well, I would argue, Jova, that the music in the Connor chapter is probably the best of a bunch, complementing the stuff.
Well, that's nice to know, I guess.
It's a good thing this car is old.
I know, right? If it were one of those futuristic cars, they probably would
It's
have
an
had smart locks on it.
It's an abandoned car.
From the past, I wonder?
I don't even
You know
know.
this? You know what this is like? This is like the early issues of Marvel 2099. Is some old stuff still left around? Some new stuff here. Here's the
It
difference.
is
That
a
was-
trope common for cyberpunk stuff like Ghost in the Shell also has it.
So yeah, the basic gist of it is that I decided not to take my chances with Ralph, so I decided to go back here and just sleep here because it's safer.
Can Ralph actually go crazy and kill Alice?
No.
Pro tip, if you have to spend a night never sleeping actually in a car, your posture will be terrible the next morning.
It also doesn't matter how far the front seats move back, just don't do it.
Well, Teo, it's not like we have much choice.
No, I know. I was just don't try this at home, kids.
Yeah, if you can help it, don't do it.
All
Wow,
right.
kiddo, you've been having a good night.
Oh, this is a trick question, isn't it? I don't know because he was written like a cartoon, Alice.
Because
I
it was
wanna
called
be like
Todd.
No, Pedro. I wanna be like other girls.
Basically, yeah.
Because drugs, I guess. I mean, Red Eye seems to make people act cartoonishly evil. Okay, let me guess. It turns out Alice was a psycho all along.
A psycho.
Surprisingly, no.
Anyway.
No, this is not a creepy child from a Stephen King novel, okay?
Oh,
Yes.
just
I
a Stephen
mean-
King novel? Sure, there are plenty of...
Promise can't promise. I'll promise.
And that's what makes her a yandere.
And that made her go from distant to neutral.
Remember, Jova, according to David, Japan doesn't exist, so yanderes are a foreign concept for him.
There you go.
Well, yandere
There's
is
too much violence in these.
But you know what?
Yandere.
Hey, guys, never mind this. Do you know what David Cage's greatest achievement is?
What?
Omicron.
Tricking Sony into giving him money.
Is it? The Omicron is an achievement? That's news to me.
No, doing the composing work for Cheese Catastrophe starring Speedy Gonzalez.
Oh, great.
What the hell is that?
Remember, Shiroi, back in the...
It was a Master System / Mega Drive.
Remember, Shiroi,
that.
remember, Shiroi, before Quantic Dream, he was a video game composer.
So he did the
I
music
thought he
for
was
that
just a
game, huh?
musician.
Well, Exactly, a video game musician.
No, outside of video games. You told me he was a musician. You didn't say he worked with.
Yeah, he was a musician, and then he went into video games.
Huh. Okay.
My theory has always been that's the problem, Shiro, is that outside of his professional career, there's not much that's public about his personal life.
Probably for.
Are we certain he came from Earth then?
My theory still is that he was a rich kid who never had a normal childhood and was very sheltered.
Goody. Now it's time for one of my actually favorite of the chapters.
I don't know, Theo. It's just so.
Well, I say it for me, not objectively.
No.
But well, Jova, welcome to Robot Hell.
Well, it's.
And no, we're serious.
Enjoy your stay.
Well, more like. Well, Theo, I think a better metaphor would be the robot graveyard.
I argue still there are some parallels to Dante's Inferno. We will see in a second specifically what. But yeah, it has the quality of a graveyard since it's a scrap heap. Basically, Markus has been dumped here, being shot by the police, and he's severely damaged. He's missing an eye, an ear, his core, and
his leg, and then one of his legs.
How is he alive then?
Well, remember, Jova, his primary cores is still technically working. It's just that he's missing parts.
Correctly, you can actually die in this.
Well, remember, Joe. Well, no, you can't. Well, remember, Joe. It's kind of like in Terminator, how Arnold, by the time Terminator 2 is over, hell, even in the first one, he loses parts.
Remember, the Terminators weren't really as much alive as these androids were.
Well,
they weren't human like these androids
also,
are.
to represent the fact that the ear component is damaged...
Hold on, Jova. I'm going to have to get on this. Okay, Jova, I have a question for you.
What?
Considering these robots are so expensive, like we've already established, and considering the incredibly complex technology clearly must have been figured out by Kamsky from the short that we saw, clearly these are very complex machines, right?
Yeah.
What if I told you that reconstructing these androids is just as easy as rebuilding your castle of Legos that you broke down?
Then wouldn't it mean that short with Kara lied to us?
Well, yeah, kind of, actually. He's got a point there, too.
I mean, again, remember how
I still stand on my point. Considering a lot of these androids have similar components, it kind of makes sense for them to be interchangeable.
No. It's not them being interchangeable. That's the issue. It's like, remember how with the opening of Kara, and by that I mean the short with Kara, how like there's like these hundreds of arms that have to put together every little piece of her, and yet now it's as easy as just snapping the pieces in.
Exactly.
Dismantle Kara to the point where she was only like a fraction of her face, like not even the full head, just the face.
You keep misunderstanding this too. The fact that the parts are interchangeable is irrelevant to my argument. What I'm saying is that all he's doing is he takes the leg butt, he jams his leg back into his body, and it just connects and works. Like there's no wire connecting. There's no nailing the leg to the body or anything like that. No, it's like he's made of Lego. Like I mean, a complex machine like this should be a bit harder to reconstruct. Look at there we go. See, that's all I do. I just plug it in and that's it. Like
Pedro, question. I forgot what's the specific term. Do you know the Blender models that are not in the shape of a container, but instead of like a more utensil that you need to hold and put? Basically, there are these tools, Blender, that are functional. They have a handle.
Jump scare!
And you actually can attach and detach parts similar to this.
Okay, I guess, but
I'll provide you a picture in the meantime. It has a similar function to that.
I guess, but I think there's quite a big gap between an utensil and a humanoid android capable of human thought. I mean,
we've been told constantly.
Also, his heart looks like E.T.'s heart.
There you go, Jova. This is the hell parallel that I can see.
Of course.
It's very Dante-ish.
Okay. Is this just a hallucination, or are these people literally just coming to life here?
They've been scrapped and compressed.
Basically, Jova, this is the android junkyard. Every time they throw out an android, they just throw him in here.
Gotta love
It's
how
the
they.
edgy version of the junkyard from the Astro Boy movie.
By the way, I have a question.
Gotta
Go ahead, Jova, sorry.
love how they leave it so that androids can very blatantly come back to life here, and they're like, here's my question. Why not just recycle these androids for use? Like, why not just take out their brain core and then reboot them and just recycle them?
That's
why you gotta
actually
dump
what
them
Connor
here?
was threatening the interrogated android to do.
So why do they dump them here where they could come back to
Because we're
life?
just pieces of plastic, Jova.
Well, congrats. Now you have given a reason for there to be a revolution because, unlike slaves, these guys can come back from freaking death. And then you're going to have a bunch of people pissed off at you. Idiots.
Not just that, I have a question.
Also, are you telling me that they have no idea that androids come back to life, considering how common it seems to be here?
Get your logic out of here. The basic.
Oh, let me guess. We take that guy's head and replace it
can-
with so that now he gets a clear one.
We can, but we can also choose to spare him. However, I still don't care, so I'm just gonna kill him. Bye.
And let me
Basically,
guess this.
he's offering his core since he doesn't want to live anymore, and I think this one is actually compatible.
Yes. Well,
So when does he replace his head?
Or guess not.
that's it. That leads into my point, Jova. I have a question. Weren't we shot in the previous chapter with Markus? So, and it looked like from the angle we saw, it looked like he was shot in the head. Maybe they shot him in the chest or something. But
Do it.
it doesn't seem like it seems like the bullet didn't do any damage whatsoever. From what I'm saying, like when did he take out the bullet from his body?
So let me get this straight. So that android still wants to live, even though there's no way for them to move.
Maybe
Okay, dude.
Well, maybe it's just that the android is afraid to die, and
Yeah.
Oh my god, look at that, literally a pair of legs just standing there while the guy's top half tries. I know that's supposed to be horrifying, but it just seems goofy.
Oh, and he just fell over because...
Again, the fact also that your eyes and ear chips are damaged is represented by the fact that the screen gets blurry every 5 seconds and you're not able to listen even the rain in the more sufficient way.
Yeah, it's kind of like at the end of the fall chapter of Last of
Speaking
Us.
of audio,
There you go.
I think I actually needed you to take over for this one also.
Yeah, because it's dark quite a bit in here. It's kind of like at the end of the fall chapter of Last of Us, where Joel gets shot, and the more the action scene goes on, the more blurry the vision gets to showcase. It's audio processor.
Oh, wait.
My original was broken, so I got this new one.
and
Wait,
now
wait,
we're
wait,
able to
wait.
hear everything.
Basically,
Hold on.
I'm basically doing Android part shopping, Joe.
Okay, I have a question to ask. If he responded to what those guys said, yet up until now his audio processors have been damaged, how did he know what they were saying?
Hello.
I get
Thank
it,
you.
you're supposed to be creepy. I don't
Yeah, you
care.
can kill me. An anomaly, eh?
I get it, you're supposed to be trying creepy with the body horror. It's like, okay, it was creepy at first, but now it's just getting silly.
There we go.
I would have watched that.
Again, question. How was he able to hear what the robots were asking of him beforehand, since he clearly responded to them? And I know that technically, yes, the player can hear it, but he can't hear it. How is he able to hear what they were saying?
That's
Jova,
oh my god, too.
What?
Jova just figured out one of the game's biggest plot holes. I didn't even notice this until now. 'Cause
Jova,
if his audio processor
Wait, so repeat that?
if his audio processor was broken up until now too, how the hell did he heard about the Jericho thing from that Android earlier?
If you paid attention, he could. Wait, what Jericho?
Well,
Remember how the robot was telling about Jericho?
Well, it wasn't completely deaf, but it was very what's the term? Muffled. Yeah.
But Jova, if we did,
Sounded like we heard it nice and clear as us the players.
but Jova, if we did that, we have another quiet man again.
I guess.
But that's exactly the point. It's like, well, damaged or whatnot. Okay, he needed to replace it, which means he couldn't hear properly.
There you go. That's a nice.
So how was
core.
he able to hear all that other stuff properly? I mean, nothing really signified that he had audio damage.
All right, this is actually important, Jova. Every time an Android removes its core, it has a very fast autonomy. If it doesn't put a new one soon enough, it will die.
Iron Man.
Kinda.
Basically, yeah. And
There we go.
Mission stabilize.
and I am Iron Man. Anyway,
Oh god, that was awesome. Anyway, but yeah, so again,
Now it's time to get out of hell.
well, Shira, that's the thing, though. Tony's catchphrase, even before the MCU, was always "I am Iron Man." That's always been one of the primary sentences. So that was the perfect way to end.
The funniest thing is that the funniest thing is that the AC/DC song is not even based around the Iron Man comic book character.
Is that why?
It still fits, though.
Yeah, it does.
Is that why Iron Man 3 got rid of AC/DC?
No.
But hey, Tim, instead of AC/DC, we get Eiffel 65.
Oh, no, Drova. We're about to get not immediately, but basically the way this chapter ends is mind-boggling even for me, honestly, because you will see, well, now it's time for Markus to, now that he's literally climbing his way out of robot hell, it's time for him to make his decision.
He's an android, that's racist.
Deal or no deal?
So I guess he managed to get tiny little patches to cover up that right eye of his.
Actually, no, remember, the skin of Android kind of morphs, so you could adjust that.
Look how epic this is. Hello. No, like seriously, this angle. No, it sounds like he's about to scream. No.
He's feeling the rain.
What am I fighting for?
For a moment, I thought they were going to reference Shawshank Redemption.
All right.
Anyway, now it's time for him to camouflage him as a human. How? By not removing, but basically damaging a bit his circle thingy, so he can cover it with a skin patch.
Doesn't he just rip it out?
No, he just rips it out too. Yeah, Jova. Apparently, androids can just rip out their LED, and the body will just fix itself with skin. And that way, the androids can just pass off as humans. Whoever thought this was a good design choice is a moron, I would have to say. Like, seriously,
it's that easy, huh?
It's that easy, apparently. Again, Jova, like I've said, these androids are made of Legos. Like,
wait, let me guess. The twist is that a lot of androids have...
Hold on, Jova.
Now here we go. The best part of the entire segment.
The badass leaving. Just to stop, Jova.
Kubrick stare a bit, but yeah. This is my story. And he found a random lever code hanging there. Where?
What the fuck was that thing doing there?
It was just conveniently there, placed by someone hoping someone else would pick it up.
Oh wow! It literally is.
Arnie left it there while filming Terminator Dark.
I love how it's literally called Markus Came Back from the Dead. It really was robot hell.
Sorry, Joe, no musical numbers.
Oh god, I like that one.
So... Yeah,
okay, so let me guess. The twist is that it turns out a lot of androids have actually done that same trick that Markus has, since it's such an obvious trick. And the twist is that a lot of the people who have been banging on about robots are actually robots themselves, and they've forgotten that they were the past robots, showing that robots can be just as flawed as humans.
You're giving this story way too much credit, Jova.
Yeah. That's not going to be the twist, is it?
Nope. Anyway,
so Markus is literally the first robot.
Jova, that would require David to be capable of nuance. He's not. Sorry.
Tune in for the next ham-fisted chapter in the next part.
See ya.
See ya.
Yeah.
Yeah.